people talk about a lot is Dak Prescott and his looming contract situation with the team. You got to spend a year with him in season. I know you guys have gotten to spend some time together this offseason. Based on what you've seen, should Dak Prescott be the quarterback of the Cowboys' future? What has stuck out to you about him?
Indubitably, absolutely, no question. I think, last year what he did, the first year in Mike McCarthy's offense, I mean, for the longest, he was, MVP front runner, and then what I believe he finished second or third.
Yep.
And that was all done 1 year into Mike McCarthy offense. I think all he's going to do is continue to get better, continue to lead, and hit his stride. So if you don't do it now, in my opinion, it's just going to cost that much more later because he's on a mission for sure.
You damn right, Brandin Cooks. Dak Prescott absolutely deserves a contract extension with the Dallas Cowboys, or a new contract, however you want to put it. He 100% has earned that. And here's the thing, y'all. Like B. Cooks just said in that clip, Dak is only 31 years old. This dude still has another 3 or 4 years of ascending to his peak level as an NFL quarterback. Remember, we didn't see the best iteration of Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. These dudes didn't get to playing their best football until the second half of their careers. Dak Prescott is literally just now entering his prime. That's why it's so perplexing to me when so many people are out there saying, oh, we're ready to move on from Dak. You're ready to move on from a quarterback who hasn't even peaked yet, and he has shown you he hasn't peaked because he's gotten progressively better over the last couple of seasons. Just in a small sample size, he's actually gotten better and better and better if you take a look at how his career has played out. He hasn't even peaked yet, y'all, and y'all are wanting to get rid of a QB that's just now heading into his prime years. Dak Prescott's next 3 to 4 seasons are probably going to be the best seasons of his entire NFL career. And this is when your window as a Super Bowl contender is wide open. Here's the thing. There's a ton of questions around whether or not the Cowboys truly are Super Bowl contenders. And I think that this season particularly is going to answer a ton of questions about the Cowboys as it pertains to what do they truly need with this iteration of Dak Prescott, this iteration of CeeDee Lamb, this defense that we have in place. What all do the Cowboys really need to be successful? Do they just need the fundamental building blocks that's a run game, a stout run defense, and then you let your quarterback just lead the way? Is that all the Cowboys were missing? Or is Dak Prescott still the type of player that needs all the help in the world, similar to another QB in our division, Jalen Hurts? Is Dak Prescott one of those guys that has to have all pro or Pro Bowl level players at literally every position on the field for him to be successful? I don't think so. We actually just saw a small sample size of this last season with Tony Pollard in the backfield and an offensive line that was not very impressive in the run game. Dak Prescott was still able to lead this offense to being one of the most explosive offenses in the entire NFL. So I think that this season, with Brandin Cooks being in the system for another year, with this being the second year in that Cowboys offensive system for Dak Prescott, he now knows what the expectations are, what type of play calls are going to be made, what the timing on those plays need to look like. Oh, we're about to see a whole different version of Dak Prescott this season, and he barely lost out on MVP last season. I would not be surprised at all. In fact, I may place a bet on this, that Dak Prescott is going to become the MVP of the NFL in 2024, especially when you take into account that by most people, by most media, whatever, most people feel as if the Cowboys had a lackluster offseason, which means if the Cowboys have any semblance of a good season this upcoming year, there needs to be no more criticisms. There needs to be no more doubts. There needs to be no more shit being talked about Dak Prescott, because if that doesn't show you right there in an offseason where by most accounts people think they had a terrible offseason, sans the draft, people don't think the Cowboys did much. And personally, they actually didn't really do much. The biggest move that they made was bringing Mike Zimmer into the fold. But even that, that's only so much that a coach can do. You still need your players to produce on the field. And I think that this season, no, I'm not going to say, oh, we're making the Super Bowl. But I am going to say we're about to probably get our best look at what our core players are, what their actual impact on the field is. We're probably about to get that best look at these guys this upcoming season. So any questions about any of the players that are left on our team, any of the leaders left in place, I believe all of those questions are going to get answered. And I also believe exactly what Brandin Cooks said. The longer you wait on Dak Prescott's contract, the more expensive it's going to get, especially if a guy like Tua or a Trevor Lawrence comes by and they sign for even more than Jared Goff signed for. Dak's contract is just going to get more and more expensive. So now is the best time to make the move for the Cowboys. Now is the time to sign that contract extension with Dak Prescott. Like I said, he's going into his prime. Regardless of how you feel about it, the Cowboys' best bet, their best chance to win a Super Bowl in the immediate future, meaning the next few seasons, is by going with their now prime ready quarterback who has now been battle tested. He understands what's going on. He has experienced plenty of failure now in his career. And no, I'm not blaming all of the playoff failures on Dak, because if you go back and look at it, Dak Prescott has had more good games in the playoffs than he has had bad games. So I'm not talking about that specifically, but I'm just saying everything is now aligned for Dak Prescott. We now have the leadership in place, whether it be on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball. We now have our systems in place for this team to be all systems go, right? So Brandin Cooks, strong words about Dak Prescott and his contract situation. He 100% believes, he said indubitably, Dak should be the quarterback of this team. I just find it very hard to believe with the way that this team is constructed, with how this team looks at Dak, what Dak is to this team. Keep in mind, Dak Prescott is the only veteran leader that is there at OTAs right now as far as our star players go. CeeDee Lamb wasn't at OTAs. Micah Parsons wasn't at OTAs. Dak Prescott was the guy. He is still the face of this team. And I'm telling y'all right now, if we don't have Dak on this team, there's going to be a seriously large void to fill that I'm just not quite sure that we have the players to fill that void with. I think a lot of people are underestimating the impact of a person's presence and what that can do for bringing along the younger guys. Dak understanding how important it is for him to be able to get as much practice as he can with the new guys that have been brought to the team. People have had issues with Micah Parsons not being available at OTAs for the same exact reason. You have a quarterback that's doing all the right things off the field, and on the field, he's doing the right things about 85-90% of the time, right? Everybody messes up here and there. But either way, man, Brandin Cooks, strong words for Dak. I agree with everything that you said, obviously, and I just wanted to kind of bring this to you guys just in case you hadn't seen it yet. But either way, we stay the same old Cowboys. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Woo, shut up, my boy. Hey, I'm still them boys.